everyone, and welcome to another episode of my Woman Who Inspires series. My name is Sreshtha. I am the director of the Self-Worth, Leadership, and Empowerment Consultancy. I am also a wholeness guide and a motivational speaker. And my ultimate purpose in life is to just help women live as mentally free as possible. In this series, we interview a diverse group of women, and the purpose is in them sharing their story of emotional healing. It inspires you to do what is best for you on your journey to push you to a happier place or even your purpose. Today, I am extremely excited to have one of my mentors in my life with me. Her name is Donovan. Donovan is a self-worth strategist, best-selling author, and founder of the Women's School. She has 20 years experience training women. She founded the Women's School to fight the injustice against women's self-worth. Her company went from 0 to 2 million in 2 years, growing 1,000%. She believes it is time for our world to recognize the value of the whole woman and not just what the culture dictates makes her valuable. She is more than her body or her achievements. She was designed to be whole. Women today doubt if they are good enough. We battle feeling like a failure when in reality, the world has failed to prepare us. We can no longer afford to hand over a generation of women who doubt their worth. It is time women know who they are. We have a duty to equip women with practical skills and guide them to design who they are for the world. We are in the business of integrating the whole woman. January took her passion into training women to build a business rebuilding women's worth. Her bold vision took the Women's School from 0 to 30 plus countries in under 2 years. There is a hunger for this deep work. As a wife and a mother of 8 children, she is fierce about integrating business and motherhood. Our professional dreams, she believes, cannot be apart from our personal dreams. We have to integrate them if we want to be fulfilled. We just need the right skills and strategies. That is exactly what we train women to do in the Women's School. And I am so happy to be one of their students, hence she is my mentor, and to welcome January to the program. Welcome to the program, January. Thank you so much for making time for us. How are you today?
Thank you so much for being here. It is a privilege for me to be here. It's a privilege to share hearts. I'm so grateful. I get to do this work for a living, to be able to really enter into the heart of women. So thank you for having me, and thank you for the work that you do to continue to inspire women to own their worth. I mean, we need women who have that level of courage in today's world. So thank you for following this mission.
Yes, thank you so much. So you all can see why I aligned myself with January and why I was so excited to take her course. So January, I'm going to ask you if you can share with us one of your emotional healing journeys.
Oh gosh, I would say that one of my biggest wounds was rejection. I didn't understand my value as a woman. And so I wanted to prove that I was good. And every time I tried to prove myself, I wanted to prove myself in school. I wanted to prove myself in my relationship with men. I wanted to prove myself to my family. I wanted to prove myself that I was good enough. And I was fighting this rat race because I was afraid of being rejected. But really, I was afraid of not being lovable. I didn't have language for it. I just carried it, Shreya. I was like, most women don't know they're fighting this interior battle, but they feel the agony, they feel the rejection, they feel the loneliness. But it's not like we have the language to speak about it, to talk about it, to kind of look at somebody and say, I feel the wound of rejection, because it's a very vulnerable pain and we feel very alone. So most of the time we suffer in isolation and we pile on the suffering because it's not like we talk about it, because we don't know how to talk about it. And then I felt like I started to look at other women and started to compare myself. So sort of this wound of rejection compounding with my wound of not being able to see my own worth and look at other women. And so the emotion just kept pounding and pounding. And I think it came to a point where I just felt lonely, isolated, and disgusted with myself is probably the right word. That's probably accurate. When I look back on it, that's how unkind I was to myself.
And how would you have, so that feeling of rejection, I love how you put it in your language, right? Is really wanting to be loved.
Yeah.
How would you have dealt or processed with that rejection to become who you are today, inspiring so many women?
I think that wound of rejection and feeling like exhaustion from having to prove myself caused me to kind of look inward and say, I'm tired. I don't want to live this anymore. And so I wrestled with myself and really dug in and got to know myself, because you can't really love yourself until you know yourself. So I did a lot of interior work. I got to know myself, who I was, who I wasn't. But then I started to learn how to design myself. So from this woman who felt rejected to this woman who, I didn't like, to saying, well, how can when we design the woman that I choose to be, that I want to be, and no longer to be in that place. So my pain, my sorrow, my rejection became the compass of my call. Our wounds become the compass to our contribution. And that really became, to me, I was so dedicated in saying, I don't want to be the only woman. I know I'm not the only woman going through this. And I walk through and use that pain really to give birth to a new January Donovan that I didn't know was possible. And then I thought, this is what we need to retrain the world. We need to give women permission to say, our wounds are a gift. Our emotions are a gift. It cannot be seen as a cross. We need to order our emotions. We need to align it to our highest good, but we cannot silence it. Because it comes back to haunt us. It becomes rebellion. It becomes anger. And we start to suffocate our desires. So my wound became the compass to this great work.
Well, and that is so inspirational and such a journey to describe your wound as the compass to your contribution, and that is part of why I'm doing this series as well, for women to understand just that. In my language, I say it's like a secret message from the universe. But I love how you put it as your compass to your contribution, or your call. And I want to ask you too, how did you start? So you guys may not know, but January is actually from the Philippines, and she would have moved to the US when she was a teenager, if I'm remembering the story right. Yes, that's correct, right? How did you you wanted to change women's worth? How did you get the idea to turn this into a business and a passion that it has blossomed into today?
Yeah, I didn't start out that way. So I was 11 when I moved here, and being somebody who was from the Philippines, I always thought I was a second-class citizen. So not only was I fighting for my worth, but I didn't think I was good enough to be in America. I just thought, now I'm going to be out of place for the rest of my life. And so most of my high school years was suffering, I think, not being good enough for my country. So then it was my college years that I just began the interior work. And that interior work, I think, put the seed of a dream in my heart. And I didn't have language for it. I didn't understand what the dreaming skill was that we teach in the women's school now. And the freedom I received from doing the interior work was that I experienced that level of joy and freedom that I didn't think was possible. I thought, there's no way that I could come from this wounded woman to this free woman, and that I only be the only person who gets the privilege to do that. I thought, I can't live and die knowing I'm the only one who is able to receive this level of joy and freedom. So the dream began, how can we share this to the world? So I spent most of my 15 years training women.
Yes.
I didn't get paid a thing. I did it because I believed in women. I did it because I felt women's pain. I could see it in their eyes because I walked that pain. And I was so driven by the fact that we can't afford another generation of women who doubted their value, who were confused about their worth, who had no skills to show up in the world. And that to me was such a deep call to say, there's no way we can afford another generation of women who are unprepared. And I really, that dream, it was pulsating in my heart because I started to taste the freedom and the joy of what it means to be a woman. I started to love being a woman. I didn't have it all figured out. I had a broken heart. I didn't have the answers, but there was a peace that nobody could shake. There was a joy. There was such a gift to be able to say, wow, I am fully alive in my pain, even though I don't have it all figured out. How can I then share this gift to other women? So it began with a dream. And I just kept doing it while I was pregnant. We got married, baby after baby. And I wanted to give up so many times. But what kept me going? Because, you've got kids and I had 4 kids under 4. I didn't do this to build a business. I trained women because it was inside of me. I felt like I couldn't die with this work. And I remember after I finished the masterclass, I thought, oh, I could die now, God. I felt like I did your work. I don't have to keep this gift that you have given me and teaching me how to live and to design myself as a woman and to do it over and over again, where we're not stuck being this woman that we think we are. We can redesign ourselves over and over again. And so that gave birth to the Women's School, and say, how can we then share this to the world? How can we teach women of their worth, their value? How can we teach them to be fully alive? How can we give them skills? How can we teach them to dream? How can we teach them to study the desires of their heart? How can we teach them to draw boundaries, hold people accountable? How can we teach them to design a beautiful, meaningful life? That's what it was about. Now that's what the Women's School is. And that's, I think, why we went to 40 countries in just under 3 years, because I think women are ready. They're hungry.
It's such an amazing journey, talking about being a wounded soul, but so alive in your pain. For all the women watching this, if you are doubting yourself, if you are thinking you don't have the right background, if you are thinking that you are just not good enough, know by January's example that you are beyond a shadow of a doubt. And just knowing inside you, a lot of times, when I'll just speak for myself, so a lot of times I don't know. If you asked me a year ago if I'll be doing this series, I had no idea, but I just wanted to make a difference. And just thinking about that, things come to you. And in January's case, her purpose just blossomed into not only helping a small group of women, but really impacting so many women on a much larger scale. And now she's training other women like myself to help do the work that she has visioned. And you all know how passionate I am about self-worth transformation. So my last question for you, January, is what would you tell your younger self?
A great question. I would tell my younger self to be kind to herself because nobody showed her how. I would tell my younger self that, this gets me emotional. I didn't have a mother who taught me how to be a woman. I had to learn things on my own. I had to fall. I had to suffer. I had to taste the pain of isolation, rejection, unworthiness, all the cries of the heart. And I was hard on myself.
Yeah.
And I would say, January, be tender to yourself. Honor who you are. I didn't have the language for that. Be patient because nobody ever showed you how. Yeah. So I say that to women right now who are watching. If you're hard on yourself, if you feel ashamed, if you feel like you're a failure, if you feel like you're not happy or that life is not the way, be kind to yourself. Because if you look back and ask yourself, who taught you how to design your life? Who taught you how to make decisions? Who taught you how to hold boundaries? Who taught you how to be kind to yourself, to manage your mind and emotion? And I would say to you, we don't go to school for that. There is no place. There's no cohesive place for us to say, this is how I learned how to be a woman. This is how I learned to protect my boundaries. This is how I learned to build a standard, how to find the right person. This is how I trained to be a mother. There is no place. So many of us are just trying to figure out as we go, and we are getting blamed and shamed for the choices nobody ever taught us to make. And the greatest thing that I get to see with women in this work is that when I say, you haven't failed, you are not a failure, the world has failed you. And tears just fall down. Because for the first time, they've carried the burden of guilt and shame, thinking it was their fault. And I tell them it's not. The world has abandoned you. The world hasn't given you the tools you need to honor you. You're now responsible to say, how can you do that for yourself, for the next generation? And I've seen it over and over, Shri. I know women can achieve interior freedom. They can own their value. They can show up every single day and become fully alive, even when life isn't the way they wanted it. They can change the way they see their interior self. We have to first battle who we are. And I always tell the woman, we are the first woman we fight for. And we have to battle ourselves interiorly and own our value so that we can then stand out and fight for other women. And that's what we need to do for the next generation.
Yeah, that is such a powerful message, to always be kind to yourself. And it's okay. So certain things happened. The world wasn't so kind to us, but from that came your dream and your birth. And the most important thing is every new day is a day to choose you. So no matter what happened in your life, be it something that was really horrible, really sad, really difficult, really made you hurt, you can always turn inward, as January says. Look for the persons who support you, look for your growth friends, look for the persons who mentor you, and look for the tools and skills that you can build to just blossom into what you were meant to be. And I'm also excited to be mentored by January. I'm going to start teaching her course in March, so you guys could look out for that. And January, I really just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on this series. You really epitomize everything that this series is. You are a wonderful example of how a wounded soul can really turn into something so beautiful by facing what she was going through and then looking to help so many other women, not wanting anyone to suffer in the way that you did. So thank you so much for coming on the series. And to my audience, thank you for watching. And I will see you all again soon in this month where we honor women. Bye, everyone.